Man oh man, where do we start? The boxing community has been in a frenzy ever since this last fight from my guy Shakur Stevenson. As most of you know who are boxing fans, know that Shakur Stevenson just fought on Thursday night against Edwin de los Santos for the 135-pound WBC championship, a belt that Devin didn't want to defend against Shakur and instead ran to the 140-pound division to challenge Regis Prograis, a much easier fight to take instead of fighting Shakur. Now Regis Prograis is a good fighter, no question, but if you're not dumb, you know the real reason Devin is fighting Regis instead of Shakur is because that's the much easier fight to take instead of the mandatory fight he had against Shakur. I know a lot of you boxing fans, whether you're a casual or not, I'm sure you've been seeing all the negativity being thrown towards Shakur, mostly surrounding this last fight against de los Santos. Now really quickly, I'm going to keep it a buck and acknowledge that some of this negativity being thrown towards him is on Shakur because of the way he was talking to de los Santos and the way he was saying he was going to quote-unquote beat up de los Santos.
What happens on Thursday night?
I'm gonna beat him up.
Just as simple as that.
I'm whooping his ass.
As you just heard him say, Shakur Stevenson promised to beat up Edwin de los Santos and was really making it seem like he was going to destroy de los Santos come Thursday. And that was far from what happened in that fight. For me personally, I'm not one to judge how good a fighter is by how entertaining they are. I like watching the smart chess match type of fighters and seeing actual boxing skills, rather than the casual fan who just wants to see two dumbasses slug it out. But with that being said, I was still dissatisfied with Shakur's performance, because I watched him have amazing boxing performances and still show great defense at the same time. And also because of all the stuff Shakur was talking. You can't talk crazy about how you're going to beat up your opponent, and then when the fight comes you do the exact opposite. So I'm not really that upset with how Shakur fought, but more so because of what he was saying leading up to the bout. Basically, I'm saying some of this negativity being thrown towards Shakur is on him. But also somebody who's also not getting enough of the blame is Mr. Edwin de los Santos, who's known for his quickness and power. And you'd think that since he's been following Shakur out for a fight for as long as he has and now given an opportunity to fight Shakur, and not only the opportunity to fight Shakur, but you get to fight Shakur for the WBC title, you'd assume that de los Santos would have gave it all in that fight, but his performance was very lackluster. De los Santos was predictable with his approach and struggled to cut off the ring against Shakur, and there were times where de los Santos wasn't trying to engage with Shakur. So in all honesty, they both share the blame as to why this fight wasn't as good as it was supposed to be. It was a match of wouldn't and couldn't. But with all that being said about the fight, that doesn't take away from how great of a fighter Shakur Stevenson is, and it really looks like people are trying to take away from his abilities just because of his last performance. You already know that the casual fans and internet trolls have had their fair share to say about Stevenson's last fight, but right now, I'm mainly talking about what other boxers had to say. Let's start with Ryan Garcia, aka Disney Channel, aka the cornball who quits in his big fights.
I think we would be friends though. After I knock him out, I really truly believe that we'll be like best friends.
Yeah, that guy. Ryan Garcia really has a lot of nerve trying to talk down on Shakur Stevenson, or anybody else for that matter, when he literally quit in his last fight after getting dropped with a body shot. I mean, just look at some of these tweets from Ryan Garcia. In this first tweet, he's basically saying that de los Santos was winning just purely because of his aggression, which was a lie, because if you actually watched that fight you saw that de los Santos wasn't aggressive at all and was very respectful of Shakur Stevenson's skill set. And even though Shakur wasn't really throwing any punches, the punches he did throw landed more than the punches de los Santos threw. So I don't know what fight Disney Channel was watching, but even with the lack of action in this fight, it was still clear as day that Shakur won the fight easily. He then goes on to say that the fight was boring, and how it was so boring that it made him sleepy, which I'm not going to argue with him about because, like I said, the fight was very lackluster. But this is one of those right message wrong messenger type of things. Like I said before, for somebody who quit and gave up, Ryan has no right to be trying to talk down on anybody else's performance, especially and that fighter actually won his fight. Shakur having a bad performance really made Ryan and a lot of these other fighters forget about their own lackluster performances and their own questionable choices, just like Mr. Frank Martin, who literally ducked the fight that he was supposed to have with Shakur Stevenson. After the fight was over, you see Frank Martin post a tweet with a plate emoji and a laughing emoji, and I'm really confused on why Frank Martin made this post. The plate emoji is the one I'm really stuck on, because I know for a fact Frank Martin can't be trying to insinuate that Shakur Stevenson is food for him, because when he had a shot at the title in a fight against Shakur Stevenson, he backed out of the fight because he was scared to fight Shakur. So I find it really funny that Frank Martin has all this confidence all of a sudden making this tweet, especially when we didn't hear from Frank Martin this whole time. And now he hops back on Twitter as soon as Shakur has a bad performance. And then there's this laughing emoji, as if he's laughing at Shakur's performance, as if Frank Martin had a spectacular performance in his last bout against Artem Harutyunyan. Frank Martin has a lot of nerve to be talking down on anybody else's last performance. He's laughing as if he wasn't getting walked down lane his last fight, and getting hit with body shots up until the later rounds of the fight. It's really crazy how Frank Martin disappears for as long as he's been gone and then comes back to try to down Shakur's performance when 1. You didn't want to fight him, and 2. You had a lackluster performance in your last fight as well. And last but not least, the next person that we have to talk about is the one and only Devin the Duck Haney, the toughest man out of Henderson, Nevada, the private school pugilist, the suburb scrapper, the gated community gladiator, had a lot to say about Shakur Stevenson. You see Devin say in this tweet that he should have offered Shakur even lower offer than before, and saying that he was being too nice with the original offer. Now really quickly, I just want to say that for you casual boxing fans might actually believe the things that Devin Haney says, because I know that Devin and Bill Haney really have some of you guys fooled into thinking what they want you to believe. They are some of, if not the greatest liars in the history of boxing, so please don't get it confused. Devin didn't offer Shakur Stevenson 25% because he wanted to be nice. He offered that 25% knowing that Shakur would have turned down that offer as a way to avoid fighting him and still being able to use the excuse of him saying that he sent an offer even though it was BS. You see, the truth is Devin had absolutely no intention of fighting Shakur Stevenson at all, because he knows that Shakur would expose him in that ring, just like Shakur has been doing their whole careers. Just like Bill Haney said, Shakur has always gotten the best of Devin.
We thought that we was getting points, you dig what I mean? Because Shakur is an Olympic. Shakur always then got in on Devin. Nigga, are you tripping? You niggas, y'all, nigga, the whole shit started because it was live that we're in there with Shakur. Not Shakur is getting out on us. Like, he's the big nigga. He's the big homie in the shit. It was never, we would always, nigga, first the gap was like this. The gap got closer and always got, if you got off any with Shakur, it was a plus. If you just had a good day, that's how it was. All the way up until now, brother. That's why I told him, I said, inside the weight classes, when we moving, just like niggas is moving now, brother, if it's too hot at 30, we already ready to go to 40, bro.
If it gets too hot, we're ready to go to 40, which is exactly what he did. When Shakur was made the mandatory for Devin's WBC belt, he did not take the fight, and instead did exactly what Bill Haney said. He ran to 140 to take the much easier fight against Regis Prograis, which brings me to this next tweet of Devin trying to say that he was never scared of Shakur Stevenson and that Shakur was only trying to use his name for clout, which again is a straight lie. Devin and his father have made statements that they were staying at 135 pounds for the whole year, and then when Shakur Stevenson was made the mandatory for Devin, he ran up to 140. And the other problem I have with this tweet is that he's trying to make it seem like Shakur Stevenson is clout chasing off of him, which is ridiculous to say. Devin Haney is not a pay-per-view attraction, and he doesn't sell tickets on his own without him and his father riding Tank Davis and mentioning him every chance they get.
Roll up some Tank. Who got some Tank? DM me and DM me your address. I'm gonna send you some Tank so you can smoke some Tank, the new shit. You dig?
Tell to Devin and his dad to get out my dick.
Every time Devin has a fight coming up, him and his father constantly have to talk about Gervonta Davis to bringing any interest towards Devin, because Devin cannot sell on his own. So who is Devin to try to accuse anybody of trying to use somebody's name for clout when that's literally what him and his father are known for? But anyways, the whole point of this video is to just remind you guys that Shakur is still one of the best fighters in the world, and arguably the best 135-pounder in the world. And that one lackluster performance doesn't change any of that, so don't let what some of these fighters have to say make you think otherwise. But anyways guys, that's it for this video. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been showing me, and thank you for watching.